And, I started to think about it about 6 months in as a business, not just as a fun little hobby on the side, as a full-time business. And that was a transition too. I've made a lot of mistakes on this whole YouTube thing. But again, I've been very grateful or I've been very blessed, and I'm very grateful for that. But if you want to start to be, a counselor, or you want to start something like this, I think it takes a lot of courage to do so.
I'm Michael Santos with Prison Professors, and I want to thank you for sticking around with us. We were just about to listen to interview part 2 with Jessica Kent, the amazing YouTuber that currently has 322,000 subscribers. The previous episode talks a little bit about how she got into this after serving a prison sentence. And in this episode, you're going to hear more about the development of her channel, about her work ethic, and about how you can use this kind of leadership to achieve your highest potential.
It takes a lot of hard work and perseverance, especially when you're talking about things like addiction and prison reform. People are very quick to judge. So you have to have a thick skin. You have to get up every day and push yourself, to continue to share your story and to get in front of different audiences. And I can walk you through the business plan of YouTube, but essentially, if you have it and if you don't. And those that have it, you're unstoppable. And I think so many people in prison, because I was definitely that way, we're hustlers, we're go-getters. We'll get out there and we'll do whatever it takes, right? Not necessarily in the best ways before, but that's where you can make that change now. You have those skills already. How can we harness that and put it, make it a business? So once we figure out that, y'all are going to be unstoppable.
So there's another component to, I think, being successful that I really see in your work, and that's the work ethic. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about what does it take to change something that you're starting as a hobby and turn it into a business? I know it takes 10,000 hours, but maybe you could tell them your journey of transitioning from hobby to a career.
For me, it started small. So I wake up early. I realize that I have to start maximizing every hour of every day. If something is wasting my time, I can't do it. Scrolling through Facebook or scrolling through Instagram, that's a waste of my time. I have to stop doing that. But I'm an addict. I'll get addicted to Instagram. So it was difficult to put the phone down. But I get up really early. 5:30 in the morning is usually when I start my day. Sleeping in for me is 7 a.m. That's like I've wasted all this time. But I get up, I make my bed. I stick to prison routines and norms that I had back then. I still do that today. I get up, make my bed, wash my face, do all that stuff, go to chow, breakfast, and I keep that routine, and it helps me. Working from home is not easy. We've got 2 kids now, so it's like a zoo here all the time. But I learned that if you get up, you do all these things, get dressed, put some makeup on, don't wear sweatpants, even though it's super tempting, act as if, you're going to the office. Just that slight shift in my mindset was able to kind of propel me into thinking about it like a business. YouTube is a monster. Some people make it and some people don't. There's no rhyme or reason to it. But I kind of was on a mission when I started. And that mission was, who doesn't know Jessica Kent? Who doesn't know my story? Who doesn't know my name? Who can I get in front of? Who can I talk to? Who can I collaborate with? And in that, I found a lot of really good people that were very willing to share my story. I also found some negative people, and the negative people also motivate me in the same way the positive people do. And I've just learned to use every conversation, every collab to my benefit. Not every video that you have is going to have 1 million views and make you a ton of money. That's not what it is. You have to be willing to sacrifice your time and your effort. You have to be able to learn. You have to look at what you're doing and say how can I get better? How can I improve this? How can I, learn to use different equipment? So it's been a crazy journey. I've only been doing this for a little over 2.5 years now. Or a little under that. So it's been a huge learning process. And for me, every 6 months, I do something called back to basics, which is just like a sales strategy. So I do that same thing. Who doesn't know my name? Who can I get in front of? Who can I talk to? And I do that every 6 months, and it's exhausting. But in that, it has helped me grow my platform, so it's long and arduous if we're talking about YouTube, but I'm so grateful for it because I've been blessed, so much over the years, but it doesn't doesn't just happen on luck. There's a lot of hard work that goes in behind the scenes. You know, you're watching a 10-minute YouTube video and you're like, that looks super easy. She's just talking to a camera. What you guys don't see is all of the equipment, you know, set up behind the behind the scenes, the microphone, the interface, the webcam, all these things work in tandem together. And I had to teach myself all of that, from lighting to cameras. So, yeah,
And
I don't know if
also,
that answered that. I don't know if
it
I went
does.
on a
No,
tangent there.
that's incredibly helpful, because I want people to hear exactly what you just said. They'll see a 10-minute video, but they don't know that that 10-minute video may have taken you 5 hours to produce. You know, I mean, and that doesn't count all of the hundreds of hours you spent learning how to edit. Would you tell our audience a little bit about what does the editing process look like for you?
So I have a little book that I write down my ideas, because I'll just get random ideas at midnight. I'm like a night owl mixed with a morning person now. So I'm like a permanently exhausted pigeon. But I write that stuff down, you know, oh man, what I eat for breakfast in prison. People like that. And I found really creative ways. The things you guys do every single day, like people are so interested in that, you know, and that's what I talk about. Things you're like, girl, why would you tell anybody what intake looks like in Sallyport? 1 million views. Okay. So it's stuff like that. And I write down the idea. I get in front of the camera. I share the idea. Now that takes, if it's, say it's a 15-minute video, it probably took me 30 to record, you know, because I go back and forth. I'm like, well, maybe I don't want to put that in. Maybe I want to add that line, take that line out. So let's say 30 minutes to film the video. Then I have to import it into my computer, put it into my editing software. I have an intro and an outro and all these things together. So when you're putting it in your software, it looks like a puzzle that you're putting together. And you kind of want to make it like a little movie, so it looks a little bit interesting. So the editing process on one 30-minute video, probably cut down to 15 minutes for my audience, takes anywhere from 4 hours to 6 hours on average. So that's long.
It's long, and it's also that doesn't really emphasize how much time it took for you to learn that editing software. What type of editing software do you use?
So I first started doing it on my phone, and that's what I would recommend to anybody. Don't buy equipment or editing software. Just, you have a camera in your pocket once you get out, right? So I started it on my phone, and I would find these little things to clip onto my phone. And the only editing I did at first was I would trim where I sat down and trim where I turned the camera off. That was the only editing I did. But then I was like, girl, you just need to suck it up and figure out how to do this on your computer. So I would watch video after video, and thankfully there's a whole niche on YouTube that helps you do that. But I use Filmora because it's easy. I started with Adobe. That's a nightmare. I do not recommend Adobe. But I started with Filmora, and I just very slowly learned, like, how do I cut out something in the middle? You know, once I figured out I could cut things out in the middle, I was so stoked, because I stutter sometimes. And I'm like, I would just start over. I would completely turn my phone off and start the whole video process over. So learning how to clip out things in the middle was life-changing for me. Or learning how to put a picture on the video, or interchange different clips, you know? So it took me probably 4 or 5 months to learn how to use editing software. And then I'm like, well, now you need a better camera. That's a whole different thing. And I still do that. So even though I have a little over 2 years on YouTube, 300,000 subscribers, when I'm doing my makeup, I listen to things that help me. And I shouldn't need to listen to it at this point, but I'm like a super nerd. So I listen to things like how to get more views, how to get more clicks, how to grow your audience. That's all basic information.
So one of the things about coming out of prison is sometimes we have these internet bandwidth issues, and we just had one. So if you hear me frozen, we're just going to continue where Jessica was telling us about learning how to edit, cutting something in the middle of an episode and splicing something new in. And what other techniques did you learn in editing as you continued to develop?
Right. So gotta love the internet and technology. I learned how to put a picture on the video, how to change around different clips. So like I said, it looks like a puzzle. And sometimes if I know that my camera is going to switch off, because it switches off after like 30 minutes, I'll say my outro real quick so that I can take that outro and put it at the end. So just in case, like, I'll stop mid-sentence and say, thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. But it's like 20 minutes into that video. So when you're watching it back, it makes no sense, but it makes perfect sense to me. or I'll leave little notes for myself in the videos. So how embarrassing would that be if I forgot to cut that out, right? Note for Jessica, change this clip to the beginning, so I'll do that so that when I'm playing it back, I know where to put the clips. But still to this day, I'll be doing my makeup, and what I do is I play different videos that help me grow my audience. Now, you'd think someone with 300,000 subscribers wouldn't need that information, but like I said before, back to basics. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to tell me something maybe that I don't know. I never act like I know everything. There's someone out there that can help me learn something I didn't know before. So I'm constantly trying to put that information in my brain, even if I'm just cleaning the house or doing makeup or whatever it is. I play that anyway. Maybe they're going to give me good advice. Maybe I'm going to learn something. So I always try to teach myself new things, and I think the biggest mistake that you can make on YouTube is to just assume that you know everything, because YouTube can change in an instant. Or maybe you're doing something that is hurting your channel. So I always try to go back to basics every 6 months. Who doesn't know my name? What information do I not know? What equipment is maybe better than what I have? So I'm always trying to learn how to be better.
So I got a lot of takeaways from just listening to Jessica. And if I were in prison, here's what I heard that she still does. She developed really good habits while she was in prison when she made a commitment to change her life. Gets up early, makes her bed, knows what works, and then stays with it. Then when she went out and she found something that was a hobby, wanted to develop it, she really invested in herself. And that's something you could be doing right now. You could hear her. I'm going to ask her how many times she films, but we heard her say that she went from a hobby to 300,000 subscribers. That didn't happen by accident, just like your success will not happen by accident. You've got to be asking those kinds of questions like she's doing. How do I reinvent myself? Who doesn't know who I am? Listening to our interview with Jessica Kent of the Jessica Kent YouTube channel. She's giving us a lot of information that is helpful to anybody in jail or in prison who is thinking about what steps they should be taking today to position themselves for a more successful outcome, a more successful journey. And we hope that you will stay tuned, because we've got episodes 3 and 4 coming up, where she reveals more about building a YouTube channel, and more importantly, what you can be doing to begin building your success for when you get out of prison. And you will get out of prison. If you haven't subscribed to the Prison Professors program yet, please do so that we can continue to grow and teach and inspire more people. Thank you.